Welcome back to the vent conversion process. Last time I saw you, we were tackling all of the rust in this rust bucket, except the windshield, which we're gonna have to postpone a little bit more. Every time I start working on it, the weather goes crazy here in Lisbon and it starts raining. It's almost June. I don't get it. But we're gonna move on to the next step, which is gonna be insulation. And I'll explain to you in detail all of my insulation plans, but for now, all you need to know is that the first step is sound deadening. And for that, I'm gonna be using this acoustic insulation, which is heavy as hell. I don't know what the exact material of this is, but it's like some really heavy vinyl with some adhesive in the back, which is gonna weigh down all of the metal surfaces and make them a lot less echoey and tinny. Basically deal with this sound. So let's get to work. In order to have the pad stick properly, you gotta wipe the surfaces and then use one of these little rollers to like stick it, and it's not gonna go anywhere. One of the sides, let's test it out and see if it actually makes any difference. This side seems better, and now the empty side, it's way better. Let's continue. Woo! Today I woke up excited. It's day 2 of the sound deadening. We're still missing the wheel wells and the floor, but it actually feels like a vent conversion has started. As opposed to the past few months where I was just removing stuff from the van, the rust and the walls and the floor, now we're actually adding stuff in. So it feels exciting, and let's continue the work. The end of the day, I'm exhausted, my back hurts, but we're done with the sound deadening. Yay! The van looks super cool. It reminds me of that Kubrick movie, the 2001 Space Odyssey. You know what I'm talking about? This. I still have a little bit of the roll of the acoustic insulation left that I'm saving for when I replace the door and when I figure out where the holes in the ceiling go. So tomorrow we're gonna move on to a different project, which I'm super excited about, which is framing the van. So we're gonna start cutting wood, which I haven't done in ages. So I'm excited, and see you tomorrow. Good morning, sunshines. It's already afternoon, but you don't need to know that. And today we're gonna start framing the van, which, if you don't know what that is basically the process of attaching wood to the chassis of the van, and then everything else, the walls, the ceiling, the cabinets, attaches to that structure. But the first step in the framing process is figuring out how the hell this works, because I've never used it before. It's actually still closed, so I should do that. And also, Little, you should sponsor me, because I'm spending all my money on your tools. So yeah, thanks for the sponsorship. So let's get started. All right, I think I figured out how this works. Let's do a little test cut on a piece of tree that I got. But safety first. And let's plug this in. And now it should be just this. It worked. I should probably attach this to the table. It's a little loose. Now my goal is to figure out one of the pieces I need, make that as the guide, and then cut, I don't know how many of those that I need, like 15 or 16. Let's do that. I'm excited. New tools. Yeah. The length looks about correct, but now I need to figure out the curve here at the top and at the bottom. I need to figure out how many degrees that is. So let's make a little template. I'm gonna break something. Whoops. How did I lose a centimeter? I mean, at least the angle looks right. So that's good, I guess. No. Second time is the charm. Okay. That's pretty good. It almost stays on its own. And I realized what my mistake was. I wasn't taking into account the thickness of the blade. And so every time I did a little, I was losing a few precious millimeters. Now that I learned that, I just gotta cut a bunch more of these. So let's get to work. Done with all of these. Now we need to varnish them and then figure out how to attach them to the van. While that dries, let's figure out the ceiling supports. As you might have noticed, the ceiling isn't exactly flat. And after cutting this to the correct length, if I put it here, do you notice this gap? That's a few centimeters that I don't want to lose. So I need to figure out how to template this to this curve, and I have just the perfect thing for that. The separator that used to be here. That's the exact shape of the ceiling, and so let's use that. After thinking for a little bit, I thought it would be smart to move the template line a centimeter up, so I didn't lose all of this height here in the corner, and instead I would lose some of it here in the middle as well. Did this make any sense? Maybe not, but I'll show you what I mean. But now I need to figure out how the hell am I gonna cut just this little... Not perfect, but it works. Now I just gotta sand this part. Okay, fair. It's true that some of those cuts were a little bit sketchy, but we went from losing this much height, like 2 and something centimeters, to losing this much height, which is a little bit less than a centimeter. And now I can even get a pencil, trace the curve of the ceiling, and we'll have the support be perfectly flat with a ceiling beam. While I was sanding this and realizing that I was going to be here for forever, I noticed that I was being a little bit of a dum-dum to keep on track with the previous episodes, because I don't have to cut some weird sketchy curves or sand for 3 hours. I can approximate a curve with a bunch of straight lines, which you might have been yelling this at the screen for a while now. So now I just need to realize how many cuts I need to do to have the straight piece of lumber follow the curved ceiling. After a little bit of help from my brother and Katerina, we got all of the pieces we need figured out, sized and angled and correct. So now we got the cut list here, and there's nothing to it but to do it. That's so cheesy. Este povo todos para trás. Now that we got all the pieces cut, all we need to do is put them on the walls. After struggling for a little bit to figure out how to add the supports to this beam, because as you can see it's a little different and it doesn't have any flat surface to screw into, I managed to do it by wedging a piece of wood in this hole and then screwing it from underneath and then screwing the normal supports to that wood. And now that it's done and it's secure, the only thing missing is to do the framing for the roof vent. And we're done. Thank you for watching this video, but don't leave, I have a question. Do you prefer videos like this, where we tackle a project from beginning to end, all in the same video? Like for example, my previous one, the Rust video, my work was over a span of like 3 months maybe, but it was all in the same video. Versus a type of video where we follow my work over a period of a week or 2 weeks, and we might not finish the project, but you get to follow along at how things are progressing a lot more closely. And maybe you get more videos, maybe once a week or once every couple weeks, so I don't spend all my time editing. Which one do you prefer? Put it in the comments. But also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you get to follow along my crazy journey of converting this van. And maybe you can laugh at all my mess-ups, because there are a few. But I'll see you in the next video. Bye!